in this work, if working with the father, you know, at some point we have to either forgive the father or tell the father to get out of the way. There's no other option. And everyone on their personal development journey meets their father. Today I want to talk about forgiveness, because it's really at the heart of it. Someone once told me, and I keep it with me the whole time, forgiveness of self. And a key part of moving on is being able to put down the weight that we carry. And being able to forgive ourselves is one way of putting all that weight down. We meet our father and our mother at some point. We have to do that work, right? And forgiveness is a key element of working with parents, right? Because ultimately what you're going to do, you can only get them out of your life or forgive them on some level, right? And I can hear people already, you know, what about forgiving? I don't want to forgive, what they done was so bad, blah, blah, blah. There's a difference, right? I think we misunderstand what forgiveness means. I think we think it means that we're saying that was okay. We're not saying it's okay. When you forgive someone, you are not saying that their behavior was okay. You're definitely not saying it's right. And you're not even saying it was okay. What you're saying is, I understand that you were coming from some fucked up place around it, right? You were working from your own wounds in that. You had some reasons that may be completely illogical and make no sense to me, but I understand that you had them in some dysfunctional, fucked up way. You were doing something that you thought was right for you, right? That's very different from saying it's okay. It's saying I forgive that. It's not saying that whatever pain is going to go away, whatever sadness is going to go away. It's not saying that we're going to become buddies. It's just saying I forgive that. And it's also not saying I'm going to bring you back into my life. You know, it's got nothing to do with boundaries. If we've made a boundary with someone, I forgive you, but I don't want anything to do with you. Yeah? And that can be misconstrued as weakness. You know, forgiveness can be seen as weakness, but it's not. Because what's the alternative? You know, I remain angry. I remain angry at you, and I keep being angry at you over and over and over and over again, and going over and ruminating on what happened. Because, as they say in addiction, there's only so many times you can headbutt the wall and say the wall was a problem. Eventually, whatever that obstacle is, whatever that person is that you need to forgive, right? It's not about weakness. It's about having the strength to go, I get it that you was acting from your place. I even maybe feel some compassion towards you. But it's not okay. And there's a boundary here. So it isn't about weakness at all. It's actually releasing the control that something has over you. You know, you can just keep drinking the poison over and over and over and over again, if you like, or you can stop drinking the poison. And I get it that that's difficult, because I think a lot of us, especially men, we like to hold on to resentment. You know, we like to hold on to the resentment because we see it as strength. Grudges are seen as good. I will never forgive that person. That person was never going to fucking dart my door again. I don't care what happens. I'm just going to be here holding on to my resentment and holding on to my anger, and because it's right and I'm right. Yeah, well, good luck with that, because that don't look like you're really enjoying your life, right? You're much better to go, you know what? You do you, all right? Over there, away from me, but I ain't thinking about it anymore. I'm moving on. I mean, it doesn't even mean, like I said, it don't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean losing boundaries. It doesn't even mean saying the other person was right and admitting you were wrong. These are all the things we think it is. It's just about letting it go. Because there's a cost of holding on to it. The cost is this. I mean, it looks like I'm locked up, doesn't it? And that's because that's what we do. When we hold on to resentment for too long, it's like we build a cage for ourselves. You know, like I said, I already said that saying, it's like holding on to anger is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. I'm going to keep getting bitter and going over it and telling everyone about it. It's not affecting that person anymore. It's just affecting you. And also it keeps us in a victim mindset. It's poor me. It's poor me. Look what they done to me. Look how powerless I was. Right? It's holding on to that. And we have to feel that sometimes because we are victims. But how long do you want to sit in that place? How long till you want to take the upper hand? How long till you want to step into the freedom? Because it permeates beyond you. If you're holding on to resentment, I mean, one of the steps in the 12 steps into recovery is letting go of naming the resentments and letting them go. Dealing with them. Because it can even lead to addiction, holding on to resentments. Right? It can cause constant tension. It can make you hard to be around. In its most extreme cases, it becomes something where that's all we talk about. It's a resentment we hold to someone else. Especially if it's with a family member. You know, it can become hard for the siblings to be around us. Because there's this resentment. You know, so I've talked about what forgiveness isn't. But what is forgiveness? It's a conscious decision to let go of emotional baggage. That's the definition I use anyway. Forgiveness is a conscious decision to let go of emotional baggage. It's a step towards emotional freedom. So it's not saying it's okay. It's an act of strength. It's an act of submission. And that's forgiveness with others. And that's hard enough. But the toughest form of forgiveness is forgiveness to self. And that's tough. You know, we tend to go over past mistakes, regrets, failures, and we create a cycle of self-sabotage because of that. It's a race to the bottom, going over it and over it and over it. At some point, you just have to go, yeah, I did that. Yes, I failed at that. Yes, I didn't take that opportunity. But I was doing the best I could do with the tools I had at the time. Think of it like, I often say this is a key thing. I often will ask you to imagine that you have a son. Even if you don't have one, I'd like to imagine you have a son. And I'd like you to imagine being the best version of a father you can imagine being. If your son done something wrong and they'd learnt the lesson, how long would you continue to punish them after they learnt the lesson? Days? Weeks? Years? Decades? I mean, the reality of our lives when it comes to our own self-forgiveness is sometimes we are punishing ourselves for a lesson that we learned decades ago. Decades ago. And yet we're still mentally and sometimes physically punishing ourselves over and over and over and over again. So you ain't going to get very far on your men's personal development journey unless you practice forgiveness, because we've all got skeletons in our closets and we've all got people who let us down, you know, cheated us, tricked us, let us down, didn't live up to our expectations, you know, some more than others. I don't want to belittle anyone's trauma. People have gone through horrific things and I can't imagine how you would forgive them. But I see people doing it. I've seen incredible acts of bravery where people stood up in front of their abusers and forgiven them. And it's probably the most generous act they can do to themselves. So look, I'm going to give you a little exercise on this one. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to sit down and write yourself a letter. It's called a forgiveness letter. And let's work on either someone you need to forgive or yourself, right? And what I want you to do is write a letter explaining what they did or you did, how that affected you and others, and why you're choosing to let go of the anger. And then go somewhere and read it aloud. Maybe even read it to someone you trust. Read it aloud. And then when it's done, tear it up, destroy it, burn it, and consciously let it go. Consciously let that go. You know, it's not a magic. It sounds a bit woo-woo. It's not magic. It's not going to kill it instantly. But I guarantee you there'll be a shift because you're consciously telling your subconscious, I've learned this lesson now. And that's a really good way of forgiving someone else too. Ask yourself a different question. What was the question? What was the lesson I learned from that person? What was the lesson I needed to learn? All right, I've learned that lesson. Thank you for being my teacher. And now off you go. If that's what you want. Or come back in or get out, depending on what your boundaries are around this. So, men's personal development journey. Forgiveness. Tough to do. Really, really important. All right. Take care. Keep doing the work. Keep staying connected. See you later.